Hello and welcome to our early May garden tour. We're in our veggie patch and I am just like, I can't stop smiling. It feels like spring happened in about 2 seconds this year, and I'm just so grateful for all the plantings that we did last autumn, and so grateful just for this beautiful weather. There are 16 beds here in the veggie patch, and we didn't plant up the 8 in the front, we just did the 8 in the back. I think that was something to do with the availability of the bulbs that we found. But over here we have the pink and purple pride mix. Such a gorgeous blend. These ones, I don't think this was a problem with them coming up. I think they were actually eaten. We have some lovely friends here. We have, we put up a deer fence, so we don't have any issues with deer in this part of the garden. But we have rabbits and squirrels and chipmunks, all of which I love. But I do think that they have enjoyed some of our tulip bulbs. But that's okay. I mean, I think the display is still really gorgeous. And then I believe this is the red pride tulip. You guys, this is enormous. This was the first one up. So both of our tulips that came up first were red. We had the scarlet babies, and those were the earliest tulip. And those are, little diminutive little tulips, beautiful, very open kind of tulips. And these are very statuesque, tall, classic kind of red tulips. Really beautiful. These are the types of tulips that when I was a kid, I used to I think they were the most magical plant, just because it looks like there's a whole life in there. You can imagine like little insects treating them like little thrones inside. So gorgeous. But the combination, like the contrast of that foliage is just gorgeous. The blue-green combined with that just pure classic red. Oh, I just love it. And they're enormous. They're huge. I mean, they're just giants and so beautiful. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure on all the varieties here because they were discounted bulbs and I didn't do a great job of noting them in the autumn. It was my birthday, right? But then we have this purple tulip, but if I do find the name, I'll put that on the screen for you, or I'll let you know in some way. And this is just gorgeous. It is quite small compared to the reds. I mean, the reds just kind of take over. They're sort of just the crowning glory of this whole space. You can see them from so far away and they really do draw you down here. So these do kind of pale in comparison, but it's such, again, that color combination. Although I think you'd be hard pressed to find anything that doesn't look good against a glaucous blue, especially of the tulip foliage. Some of my favorite foliage is tulip foliage. I think it's stunning, really deep and cool, and it almost looks iridescent or something, really gorgeous. And these, they almost have sort of a sheen on them. It almost looks like they're a bit dusty. They have this just sort of, it's like a magical fuzzy quality to them. So gorgeous. So I do love these tulips, even though they get lost next to the reds a little bit. Look at the color. I want the rest of them to be this big and majestic. They're just stunning. These pink and purple prides are fantastic. And we actually dug we planted these same ones in the birthday beds last two autumns ago. And then we dug them up when we were ready to plant veggies in here. And we put them in just recycled plant pots and in a sunny part of the garden with a little bit of leaf mold, I think, or maybe it was some compost, and we just kind of let them die back on their own. We left them, I think it was like behind the veggie patch or something like that, for a while until they basically completely dried out. We kept them watered while they were still green, and then we just stopped watering them, and they are on the hill. They came back perfectly. So I think we're gonna try and do that exact same method this year, because a lot of the times they don't come back, and it would just be wonderful to be able to kind of recharge them, let them photosynthesize, gather all that energy from the sun, and then come back the following year. And I think we're gonna do that on our hillside meadow. This one is so stunning, but again, like the purple, I don't know this variety, but it's yellow, orange, red, and it just looks like it's been splattered with gorgeous paint colors. It's just so interesting, and each one of them is different. I mean, you have some that are more of that apricot kind of color, and They really look freckled. And then some of them that have these like longer strokes. And then some of them that are more red, some that are more yellow, some that are yellow and have a really gentle red fringe, a little red margin. So it looks like one of them was munched on here, so we lost that. And a few of them have been munched on as well, but you know, if you want a beautiful garden and you want to share your garden with beautiful animals, then I think that's kind of the price you have to pay. But I know a lot of you probably struggle with a lot more damage, so I do feel very, very lucky and fortunate that we've got this much going on. It's so nice. So we leveled off this area here. You know, this is a deciduous woodland, and when we moved in, this was all clear cut. And so we were just sort of left with tons of like felled trees and things like that. And that's how we were able to make a veggie patch here. And why we did is because we figured we might as well take advantage of this one kind of open space and slightly sunnier space, but it's very uneven and there are tons of stumps all over. So we pulled out a stump here and we kind of evened out the ground to provide a little bistro set, because I just think sitting here amidst the veggies and fruit and flowers and just harvesting and sitting and talking is something that I am unbelievably excited about. And yeah, something I've been excited about since we've had this vegetable patch. It's been very, very productive, even though it is quite shady. We've had tons of produce from here. I mean, we have baskets and baskets full every single day in the summer. So that's really fantastic. And I showed you the dahlias that I started in another video. So my plan is to plant a lot of those dahlias in the back of the veggie bed. So it's not looking great right now. We have a few tulips, and some of these little daffodils, but we're just gonna fill this up with flowers, because since I moved in, I've just really desperately wanted a wall of flowers in the back of the veggie patch. Plus, you know, all of this, that yuckiness. We're just trying to figure out a way that's affordable and possible to move that along or turn it into wood chips or do something, but man, is it expensive to buy a wood chipper. You cannot believe the kind of prices we've gotten on those. If you have a hack for that or any ideas about how to, without burning, let me know. Let me know. It's great because it's great for the wildlife to have like piles of sticks around the property, but it's a bit much. We need some ideas. Okay, we've planted up a few of the beds, so we're slowly working our way through the beds just because our average last frost date doesn't happen until the end of May. So we just want to make sure that we're not planting too many things out. Well, we have a lot of kale here. This is the winter boar kale, curly kale. In this bed, we're going to be doing some lacinato that I already planted, dino kale. We eat tons of kale. I just really, really love it. I think it's delicious, massaging it with a little bit of salt or lemon, having it as a salad, having it in soups, stews, with pasta, with basically anything, curries. Yeah. We planted some peas in here. This variety is the super snappy pea. And we create these little like pea cages from just twigs on the property, and they love climbing up them. It's quite whimsical. And then we have some sort of wattled beds in the corners. So in all four corners, we've done like a wattling. And it's just nice to use stuff from the property. I like that kind of thing. I like kind of recycling and using things from the property, but I know, you know, everybody has their own style and stuff, but I do think it looks quite charming. And so in this bed, we have beets and we have some red velvet lettuce that I started from seed. These are our shadiest beds, these four here. So this perennial kale is doing, sorrel is doing fantastic. Very delicious, lemony kind of perennial green. So you could use that in place of spinach with all kinds of different things, or even maybe like an arugula or mustard green in salads, just to add a little bit of a spice, a little bit of a kick, a little bit of something fun in there. And then over in this bed, we have some begonias. This bed every single year is like, I don't want to do anything, like no matter what I plant in here, because this is probably our shadiest bed. So this year I'm just doing flowers in here, and hopefully these do something. Here in this bed we have Oregon sugar pod peas, and so we're going to try those. Our peas last year were exceptional. They were magnolia blossom peas, I think, or magnolia peas. They grow really, really tall, and they have a purple and pink kind of bicolor flower, so they're really gorgeous, and my dog loves them. They're like a great little snack. Okay, well, I think that's pretty much it here over in the veggie bed. I want to take you over to the porch because we have some really nice tulips coming up in the porch beds. Okay, so this is our porch bed, and I just think it looks lovely. So the orange ones that are kind of the big show here look like a bowl of sorbet are Preston's Shogun tulips, and a really gorgeous floriferous tulip. Just the fact that they have multiple flowers per stem and per bulb is amazing. It makes such a big difference in terms of the volume. It looks like so much more. And I'm just so happy with that flower. We might do the same thing with all the bulbs in the borders as we were talking about in the veggie patch. So digging up all the bulbs and then charging them in recycled plant pots or whatever we can find around here, and then putting them on the hillside eventually next autumn, because they don't come back. And then they're just this floppy foliage in the borders in the springtime when you're so excited to see flowers. So it's kind of like a pump fake, and I want none of that. I just want flowers and color and happiness, especially in the springtime. So we have a few other tulips that have come up in the border. We have this beautiful pink and apricot tulip called Sanne. S-A-N-N-E, and that's a gorgeous combination, I think, with the orange. To me, this combination here of the electric blue of the forget-me-nots, these are wild forget-me-nots that I just transplanted from the property into the border here, and I want to keep doing it so it just fills in, and I know that they will self-seed and fill in as well. But I think the blue with the orange and then the pink and apricot, that is just springtime to me. That color combination is amazing. And we see this every single morning, the first thing when we come out of our little cottage. So that's, I just love it. And I think, there's something about Brunnera and forget-me-nots, very similar little flowers, those blue flowers that are absolutely amazing. You might notice, maybe you've already noticed, that there are black flies all over. This is the season where the black flies are really intense here. And usually I have a punk, which is sort of like an incense stick, but I don't have one right now. And they don't really bite me, but they just are like, hey, what's going on? Let's hang out. They have a lot to talk to me about. So I hope that's not too distracting. But we have tons of stuff that's doing really, really well in here. Our Nepeta has come back beautifully. And I just think at the beginning of the season, when all of your perennials are coming up, they just look so healthy and perfect. They almost look fake. Look at that. That's how it grows naturally in this perfect little ball. Oh, and the scent. I mean, I can smell it from here just by gently touching it. That's one of my favorite scents, is Nepeta foliage. Catmint, Persian catmint. Yeah. And so this blue color, that will sort of be taken over by the periwinkle color of the Nepeta, which will be really, really nice. A lot of people call it Nepeta. So yeah, potato, patata. But we also have a peace rose in here that's coming back. We have some GM that's about to bloom. The lily flowering tulips. So those pointy petaled tulips are just my loves this time of year. This is, these two have come back from a mix in a previous year. They're like the only two that have come back, and they're part of a pride blend that had like oranges, pinks, purples, and all that kind of stuff, which is what we did in here one year. And they don't really go, so we're gonna take these out, but they're really going for it. So I wanted to keep them in. And we also have a double daffodil down there that's bright zingy yellow, and I don't think that goes either, so we might remove those. But I did want to show you these Claudia tulips, because when I last toured, I think they were just about opening up, and now look at them. This is one of my favorite tulips. Again, lily flowering, really pointy petals, and just such a sweet flower. Sort of warm purple with a really nice snowy margin. Really, really gorgeous. And they're kind of like little boxes, Some of the lily flowering are a little bit looser, and these just are very structured and beautiful. We've divided some lamium and put that in. We put tons of hollyhocks and foxgloves that I sowed back in January, at the end of January, all throughout the border and all throughout there because I love foxgloves. They're one of my favorites. And it was my first time growing hollyhocks, which is why have I never grown those? They are so easy to grow. They grow so quickly and they're just incredible. So I'm really excited to see those. These are the champagnes. It's like a frilly champagne color, which will be nice in this border, I think. But yeah, I think I filmed that. So if I haven't uploaded that, I will link it somewhere if it's up. Okay, so over here we have another one of our newer tulips. This is called the Blushing Lady. And this one is yellow and apricot, sort of a pinky color. And that's a really gorgeous one. They were open, fully open today, but yeah, they've closed up because the sun is set. But they're just beautiful. Very, very kind of classic spring colors again. Soft pink, soft yellow, the soft green of the foliage. It's a really peaceful combination. And I think they go really, really well with the other things that are in here. We still have cassata daffodils that are blooming. A lot of our daffodils are going over because we got, 70 degrees today. You guys, it's happening. But these cassatas, they start out a really zingy yellow, and then they shift over to that apricot color. Apricot and ivory. Really gorgeous. Daffodils are one of my favorite things to deadhead because they just come off so easily, the tops. It's like they have a little knuckle in them that you can just pop off. One of my favorite gardening chores is just going through and deadheading the daffodils because it also is like instant gratification. It looks better immediately. I'm gonna come behind you and just throw this into the woodland here. Okay, so we've planted a bunch of hostas from bulbs last year, and those are coming up, which is great. And that's a very cost-effective way to sort of fill up a border, is just to do it either from seed or from bulbs. And we've done a lot of transplanting, which is another great way of filling up a new border, with astilbes on the property. And they're one of my favorite astilbes. They're a purple spire astilbe that were here when we moved in. Very beautiful. Oh, that color. We have some, interrupting fern. Interrupting ferns, and they're coming back. We transplanted these from the property as well. They were just in the woods. And I've said this before, but I'm such a huge fan of ferns. I just love them. They're one of my absolute favorite plants. And these are just gorgeous. I think that the new fronds of the ferns, they sort of look like moth antenna to me. Because they're gonna kind of grow and expand, and I just think they're so stunning. Right here we have a prairie fire crabapple, and this was just very inexpensive. It's like a budget tree solution for this spot, and we're gonna try and, it's fairly shady up in the front of this bed, so we're gonna try and keep it fairly small. But I think it's just really lovely, and the leaves are that beautiful mauve-y color, and it's loaded, totally loaded with buds, and the buds are kind of a deep pink, almost on the verge of red, but then they open up to a softer pink. So I'm just so excited. So yeah, hopefully in the next garden tour that we do, which we're trying to do them more often, hopefully this will be in bloom and just a beautiful show. Our roses have come back. We have the Olivia Austin rose. We have the Alnwick rose. Those have come back beautifully. Our geraniums, tons of foxgloves. Let's see, our irises that again were transplants. We have tons of alliums that are coming up in these borders. And then we have these tulips. These are the best purple tulips. And oh gosh, there is something so, like, they just look iridescent, this type of tulip. It does look very similar to the ones in the veggie bed. Wouldn't that be funny if we just planted the same ones? But these are the best purple tulips, that's the name, and very gorgeous. They're not super tall, but they're just really, really nice. We have tons of Shasta daisies here. So this is a true kind of cottage border. It's a blend of all different kinds of things, and we love adding edibles as well into the ornamental borders. I just think it's a very charming thing to do, to come out and harvest amongst the flowers, amongst the bumblebees and hummingbirds and newts and toads and frogs and moths and butterflies, everything. So it's kind of like my little sanctuary to come out here, but it is all different kinds of plants. But the way that I like to kind of keep it from feeling overwhelming to me is to pick a color theme for these beds and then go with that color scheme, and try not to vary from it too much. So that way there's a real softness to it. And even though there's different textures and plants and things like that, it has a cohesion that feels very peaceful to the eye. And I think another kind of tactic or method that I like to use for that is instead of doing prairie style planting, 3 to 5 to 7 plants in a drift together, I like to freckle them throughout, but I repeat them. So I have, Nepeta here, there, down again there, kind of spotted all throughout. We have the Shasta daisies here, here, here. So as you look from the sort of front of the bed, I guess, then you see, as you go down to the cottage, you see that repetition. And to me, that really invites a fluidity and a nice flow to it. So that's kind of a hack for having a cottage style look, but also having some cohesion. And another one is a lot of people tend to plant lower plants in the front and then go up. Something I like to do is generally kind of have that in mind, but then throw in something that gets really tall in the front of the border. And that way it does feel a little bit more whimsical, and there's something to look through. So as you're passing through the border, there's things to look through. So that's just kind of my style. And so I've done that with phlox that were, bless you, it's okay. So I've done that with the phlox that were already on the property. They're really tall, beautiful panicle phlox, and a sort of iridescent kind of purpley pink color. And so I have those repeated throughout. Just a couple of little things. Foliage depth and color and leaf shape and size. Those are all other ways of either creating harmony or discord in the border that allows you to kind of play around with things. So it doesn't sort of just look like a hodgepodge, or if you do want a hodgepodge, throw in whatever, just throw everything down and then plant it where it is, and it's going to look great no matter what, because plants are beautiful. So we planted a bunch of bulbs that are new to me along the edge of this pathway. We're going to hopefully be replacing this really, really soon. These are, again, rocks that are from our property, but they're just here because they come up so often. We wanted a temporary solution, but we are planning on doing an actual pathway to the cottage. But I wanted to line them with bulbs that are a little bit smaller. And so I got tons of fritillaries, and they're just so gorgeous. I showed you these in the last tour, but really beautiful checkered snake's head fritillary, really beautiful. And now the leucojums are coming up. These are summer snowflakes, and they're just starting, but they are just so sweet. And I wanted them to kind of create little arches, because they look almost like little fairy lanterns. It's like these little poles that come up with these little flowers on top. And they look, summer snowflake, they sort of have a similar name to snowdrops because they look like more open, less kind of intricate snowdrops. They look like snowflakes. They have, just that kind of wide palm-like snowflake shape with the white and the green. Really gorgeous. I'm excited to see more of those. Our roses are all coming back, like I said. This one here, so this is the alnic, one of my favorite roses. Incredible smell. Smells kind of fruity. It's really nice. So this is doing well. They are being eaten a little bit. Let's see, is there one that I could show you? We do have problem with rose sawfly, but I think these are actually some kind of caterpillar. But yeah, they look okay. They look really, really healthy. It is a bummer to see that right when the foliage comes out, because you've just been seeing sticks all winter, and then to see green finally, and then to see that it's being eaten. But it is like fair enough, there's been nothing to eat of course they're like, oh, it's a salad, ready made. Let's see. Oh, this prairie fire looks like it's coming along quicker. You can see some of those buds that look really charming. Is there anything more charming or romantic than the bud of a flower? It's just so sweet. We have some tulips on the hill, some flowers. Most of the daffodils have gone over. But this variety, so I tried to look it up, and I thought it was called Twilight or Midnight or something like that, but I can't find it. But it's a blend of purple, white, and then this purple and white bicolor. And I just think it's beautiful. This almost looks like some kind of a wing, like a purple wing on a white backdrop. It's really gorgeous, but I'd love to plant more. We got a bunch of them and planted them in the pots, and they didn't really come back in the pots for us, but yeah. Let's see, we did tons of transplanting on the hill. So we transplanted a lemony lace elderberry, a black lace elderberry. We transplanted a viburnum to the shade garden or to the dining garden. We've transplanted a witch hazel there. We transplanted hydrangea from there to there. The dogwood from against the fence. We just kind of did some rearranging and some jigsawing, and I think it's going to be really, really nice. You know, ideally, we want to just cover the whole fence and just have tons of evergreens and things like that just to cover the fence, because one of our friends came over for dinner and said, oh, it looks like an amphitheater where you kind of have your plants on display. And I love that. I thought that was I really liked that as a compliment or as a comment about the garden. But I do eventually want to just have it look like it kind of fades off into the distance. But, you know, it's a baby garden, so we're working our way with that. My favorite shrub, I'd say, is probably ivory halo dogwoods. I think they're just a foundation shrub for me. And the twigs are incredible in the winter and in the spring. It's a really nice backdrop for so many of our bulbs when they're coming up, because they come up on the red twigs, but then they have this, you know, ivory and soft green foliage that just sort of looks like it's sparkling, and it looks like that starting now and going all the way through autumn. For about a day or two, it looks a little sad in the autumn, but then the red twigs, and it's beautiful. So I can't wait for these alliums to come up. We planted actually quite a few alliums, and those are one of my favorite flowers as well. Really excited to see those. Some of them are looking a little sorry for themselves. They just aren't looking very big. Some of them have gotten munched on, which is kind of funny. Or maybe that has some kind of a disease. I'll have to keep my eye on that. I think that's really what gardening is about, is just sort of constant observation and deductive reasoning. We transplanted this flower. This is the Princess, I always forget, Pink Princess, Brindabella Rose. What is it called? Yeah, Brindabella Rose, Pink Princess. Hey, look at me. And it's this one that my partner likes to call the Beauty and the Beast rose. And so we transplanted it here so it would get a little bit more sun. And we're going to put some more fairy roses over there, because I think the fairy roses are fantastic in this area. They can handle a little bit of shade. And that's kind of where we are. You know, we're in the Northeast and we're in so much shade. And so we're really testing the limits on so many things, testing the limits on vegetables, testing the limits on a lot of things that tend to grow just in the sun. We're testing those, and a lot of them end up performing, you know, it's not going to be as spectacular as they would be if you put, you know, right plant, right place, like Beth Chatto says, but we're just trying it out and seeing what happens. And a lot of the times they do surprise you, and they do some magical things. So the fairy rose is one of those that I've been really, really happy about. So we have 2 in these front long borders, and then we have 2 back there, and we're going to add another one. And I think that'll be really nice to have that continuation, because we have a drift of pink roses that goes all throughout, different types, but the same type at each spot. So we have, you know, Mary Olivia, then we have the Olnick, and then we have these 2, which were bare root, and I can't remember there, but really big pink rose there. Then we have the Brindabella rose, and then we have the 2 fairy roses. So hopefully that sort of sweep of, it's like swathe of pink roses adds and helps with that cohesion in the border. Our Baptisia is coming back, which is so great. And the color scheme in this border is soft purples, soft pinks, and whites, / ivory or cream. So we've had to switch cameras if you're noticing a little bit of a difference. But I was talking about the baptisia. So yeah, in these borders, soft pinks, soft purples, and creamy kind of ivory colors. The baptisia, this was labeled as some kind of a purple baptisia. I can't remember the name because I threw the tag away, because that is not it. This is like a highlighter yellow. And that doesn't sound very flattering, but it's very sharp compared to the soft colors in here. And I think that very sharp yellow next to these softer colors, it just makes this plant really stick out. So I think we might leave it, and just every time it blooms, we'll just cut all the blooms off and have them in a vase inside, because I don't really like cutting a lot of my flowers, especially in the springtime, because I'm just like, I guess I have a bit of a scarcity mindset with it. I'm just like, oh, don't go away, because we have such a long, like 7-month winter, basically. So I really want to keep the flowers on the plants, is my point. When I come out here and look and sit on the bistro set, just be able to look out. So I think for this one, we're going to keep it for now and just see, because I think that it has almost a eucalyptus looking foliage, that glaucous foliage, kind of the fuzzy appearance to it, and really beautiful vase shaped. It's a perennial, but it, herbaceous, dies all the way back to the ground every year, but it looks like a shrub. I mean, it's got the stature of a shrub. That's a really, really beautiful plant. And I would like to add the ones that I meant to add as well into the border. Our peonies are looking fantastic. This one only bloomed, I think, a couple of flowers last year, and it's all budded up with ants all over it eating the sap. So that's really, really sap. No, not sap. The nectar, excuse me. And then these ones here were here when we moved into the property, and they're really, really beautiful. I wouldn't have planted them in this border, really vibrant, almost fuchsia, but they're one of my favorite things. I absolutely love them, and they start blooming every year for us in about June, early June, but they're all budded up, and I'm so excited for that display this year. It's gonna be so nice. There were some, there are just sort of like peonies coming up in the woodland. So maybe they've spread from seed, I don't really know. But we took some of those tiny little shoots a couple of years ago, and we planted them in the back of this border. And, a lot of the times they say you can't transplant peonies, and if you transplant them, they won't bloom for 5 years. Well, this one has a bunch of buds on it, so that's exciting. This one, not so much, but last year it was shriveled and tiny, and it's coming up so much better this year. So that gives me a lot of hope. And I just think it would be gorgeous to fill the back of this border with tons of peonies, because you can afford to have something like that in the back of a border, because so much, at least here we can, I don't know about you, but so much of the front of the border at this time of year is just not really doing much. And so in June, everything is still pretty small and hasn't fully come out yet. So you can really get away with having things in the back of the border. And I think it'll look really, really beautiful. Right now we have tons of ammi in the back of the border that I sowed from the seed heads, the dried seed heads of our ammi, which is like Queen Anne's lace, a really gorgeous, gorgeous disc of flower. It's a white umbellifer. Here we have the pink and purple pride tulips that I was telling you about that are in the veggie patch. So these are the ones that we put in the recycled plant pots and charged last autumn. We planted them on the hill, and every single one of them came up. So that's really encouraging. We have tons of wild violets, which the first few years we were here, I kind of treated them like a weed and pulled them, but now I'm just letting them go because they're really beautiful. I think it is actually a gorgeous ground cover, and I really, really like them. Our hellebores are really pretty. They've got new leaves coming out. Yeah. Our rhododendron and azalea haven't bloomed yet, but I'm hoping that happens soon here. And all of these lupins are wild here. Blue bonnets, and they are so, so pretty and huge. So I'm really excited to see that display this year. Tons of other foxgloves that have come up. These are either the camelot or gloxiniflora, some of which I planted last year from seed, and then some of them, we got them in packs. I think they were discounted at the garden center, so we decided to fill them up then. And then some of them I planted from seed in January and just planted them throughout. So I think it's going to be really, really beautiful. We have some tiarella here, we have some heuchera here, some astilbe that we transplanted. The daffodils have gone over, as have most of the hyacinths. Sedums are another one. This is the autumn joy that I have repeated throughout these long borders, and I think that's a really nice thing. So I'm excited to show you all of this as we move along. Our phlox in the front is incredible. It's put on so much growth. There's tulips coming in through it because the first year it was only like that big, and now it's taking over from here all the way to the edge there. I think hopefully we're going to start putting in annuals. I mean, the 10-day doesn't have any freezing temps, so hopefully I'll take you along with that very soon. Wouldn't that be fun? One of my favorite kind of planting combinations here has been this apricot pride with the cassata daffodil and this beautiful delft blue hyacinth, which is starting to go over, but you get the beautiful scent from the hyacinth. And the cassata actually does have a nice scent to it. It's very subtle, but it's really nice. And then this gorgeous apricot pride, which just looks so frilly, and again, it's like one of those pride tulips. So it's just very sturdy, upright, not flopping at all when some of our other tulips are starting to. It's just so nice. I love it. Pop off that daffodil. Okay. And now I want to show you some stuff that's happening in this border. We cut back the Elijah blues. I don't think I mentioned that in the last one, but they had started to sort of brown. So I decided to sort of trim them up into little balls, and they look kind of sad, but that should improve pretty soon here. Cut back our fairy roses, pruned those. Those thorns are sharp, very sharp thorns on those, but they grow huge. It was probably 7 feet wide. So we needed to kind of shape that a little bit. Keep it in check. This phlox is a spring flowering phlox, and it is really something. It's one of those gorgeous, it's a gorgeous color. This year, I think I'm going to plant a twilight garden, which is all kinds of colors and scents and things that are best at twilight. So things like creams, whites, ivories, blues and purples, and then scents that come out at night, things like flowers that really release their scent at night. Jasmine, I think, is one, but a lot of them attract moths, because, and so that's why they release their scent at night, is because the pollinators that they're trying to attract come out at night. So I think I'm going to do that, and I think this phlox would be perfect for that. So I have to figure out which variety this is. It's a really beautiful periwinkle shaped flower and periwinkle colored flower. That's gorgeous. And last year it was just teeny tiny. So I'm really happy that those have come back and are looking really happy. And that way, to be able to have phlox that is successive, successive bloom of that is going to be really fun. We have alliums and other tulips through the border. This blend, so we have some of that midnight twilight blend that I was talking about, the white, purple, and white/purple flowers. And then we also have a double mix that's throughout this border as well. And that is the Angelique tulip starts very white, creamy white, and then fades, or rather, I guess, like crescendos to this bright pink. So that's a really nice one. And it's, at first you don't think much of it because it's just sort of a small white tulip, but then it turns into this beautiful, a pink that packs a punch of a tulip, and it's a double and really nice. And then the other one in that blend is called Blue Diamond. And that double purple is very pretty. The bunny rabbits really like this one. They've been sort of chewing on the Angeliques and then just leaving them. They just like chew on the top and then leave them. And I think it's either bunny rabbits or squirrels, but it could be slugs eating it, but I haven't found any trails. So it's just kind of a curious thing. If you have that in your garden, let me know, because that does happen a lot. I had one, but my partner was like cleaning up and got rid of it. I was going to show you. So thank you for cleaning that up. Here we have beautiful pink impressions, and those start out really vibrant, almost like a red pink, and they fade to this really soft, dusty looking pink, which is gorgeous. Here's another one of those phlox. So again, we continue that kind of theme of repeating things, but just doing one at a time, freckling them throughout. Look how gorgeous our geraniums are. They're about to bloom as well, so I'll show you those hopefully in the next tour. Spessart, that's the variety of this, I think. I tried to track it down. So basically, I got these at a farm stand, and I was so excited to get them. I got them when they were they were in the kind of pre stages. It was really early spring the first year that we were living here. And so they didn't have things labeled, I don't think. Remember when we went to yeah. And so, yeah, I just picked them up, and then we've just been spreading them throughout the border, and oh, they just smell incredible. Tons of foxgloves back here. And then we have a lamium that's gorgeous, and that's in full bloom. It's part of the Lamiaceae family. So they have that sort of salvia-like bloom that looks like lips. And those are just gorgeous. All of the pollinators love them. This is Burgundy Glow Ajuga, and another wonderful ground cover that is just shooting out. I think lamium is probably our most confident ground cover that we have. It just really likes to spread and is super happy, and I'm hoping, because this is the creep year, or the leap year for that it'll just really leap and take over everything. And I'm hoping that the Ajuga does the same, because it's beautiful. It's an evergreen here, or rather an ever purple. It's just a beautiful purple spot in the garden, and right now it's blooming, and so the foliage is a sort of warmer purple, but then the blooms on this Burgundy Glow are a periwinkle, so that sort of a touch more purple than my dress. Really gorgeous little stalks, little spires. You know, it would be nice to put those closer to the front of the border, because the flowers are so small that you can barely see them from the path. So maybe I'll put a few toward the front of the border. It's nice to walk around. One of the reasons I love doing these garden tours is because I get to walk around and kind of brainstorm and dream with you. We have lots of stuff back here, but yeah, tons of room. We have tons of spaces to fill this year, and I'm excited to do that. Excited to fill in some of these spaces, and I think I'm going to try and do some shade-loving annuals this year in the front of the border, because I think that would be really nice. Our boxwoods are looking fantastic. I transplanted this one because it was way too close to the rose, and also the foliage between this and the fairy rose are very, very similar. So I thought that keeping them a little bit farther apart would be nice. It was really tucked up in there, and it almost looked like the same plant. But now there's a little distinction. So here by our bird bath, we have the apricot prides again. And I have been really inspired from this kind of vignette or tableau to do something similar in the season. So some kind of, you know, ever flowering, maybe annual. I don't know if you have any suggestions. It doesn't need to be the same color, but I want it to be relatively high in the color palette of soft pinks, purples, creams, blues, that kind of thing, that's going to tolerate some shade, and that could get around the size, because the view as you're entering the property of this area with the bird bath and everything like that with these has been stunning. So I do kind of want to carry that on, because I really, really love it. This is a Pinky Winky hydrangea standard, and we have them flanking our front door, and they are really gorgeous, and I'm glad they're coming back, because I was worried about them at first. Let me show you these Brunnera here. So here is our Brunnera. It's starting to spread itself, which I'm really, really happy about. But it is just so gorgeous. These tiny, tiny little flowers, they are just so precious. And the leaves are beautiful and fuzzy, and for the most part, they're left alone by everything. Nothing really eats on them. I think because that foliage is sort of like a, oh, is there something on there? Is there a bird on there? I don't have my glasses on. So it's sort of like a sunflower foliage, or like a pulmonaria. They're fuzzy leaves and really, really beautiful. The leaves in the springtime come out, and they're very small, and then they kind of expand and they become these beautiful, really silvery green leaves, and then they get bigger and bigger throughout the season. They're just big silvery hearts, which is really romantic. And I want to plant more of these on the other side, because the ones that were there didn't do super well. So I'm gonna try it one more time, and if they still don't do well, we'll try something else there. So we have tons of things coming up in here. Some more Gloxiniflora foxgloves, which get really, really tall and beautiful. I'm not sure if those will bloom this year though, because I planted them at the beginning of the year, and they're biennials, so they usually bloom the second year. But we have some bleeding hearts that are pink bleeding hearts, and those are coming up. Those look really, really happy. We have tons of hostas and astilbes in this area. We have the purple Prince Parrot tulip. Say that 10 times fast. And our tiarella back here, come on, it is just a stunner. We also have tons of hostas that are all coming up. So this area, because it's so shady, we have a bunch of hostas, which the slugs are really happy I planted. They're really, really excited about that. They're like, my favorite snack is coming up. So this is a juniper. It's way too shady for this juniper, and she's really not happy about it. So we're gonna move this onto the hillside where it gets more sun. And I really love this blue foliage over in this corner, but I think I might have to release that because I do want to keep some kind of structure, and I want it to be evergreen. So I think I'm gonna maybe go with one of the boxwood spires because I think those are really gorgeous. And I think to carry on or do some kind of continuation of those would be nice in the garden, but we'll see. It's very rare to find this blue foliage in an evergreen that can tolerate shade. I know there's euonymus, but we have this winter creeper here. That's the golden winter creeper. And so I just don't think two winter creepers right next to each other would be what I'm looking for. But if you have any ideas, let me know. Part of me was like, should I try a blue spruce? It gets some sun. I think that would be a waste of time and money, and I think I would probably kill the poor plant. Okay, so we also have some sweet woodruff here, which I'm hoping, it has that sort of the lupin type leaves, but it's really tiny, teeny tiny, and beautiful white flowers that sparkle in the shade, and I'm really hoping this kind of takes over here, which it's known to do, so I'm excited about that. So often when things are, take over an area or whatever, we'll try them, and not only do they not take over, but they don't even come back. Like we've tried anemones so many times, the sweetly, falling in love sweetly, and they didn't even come back. So I don't know. This Solomon seal is gorgeous. I really, really love that. It's sort of stepping stone leaves on either side. So I'm excited to see that bloom. And I'm really glad that that came back. Our pulmonary is looking beautiful. More and more blooms every single day, just playing off of that parrot tulip so beautifully. I love that this one comes out as pink and then it fades to this purple. And so it has like blues and purples and pinks all in one little cluster of flowers. It's so, so nice. I'm very, very excited to have more of that and more of this purple prince, which is gorgeous. Here's our tiarella, which I planted this exact same tiarella in our spring container, which if you've seen that, I uploaded that recently. And this one is so, so beautiful. It was evergreen for us, and that was gorgeous. So can we have some more violets in these borders? And I'm just gonna let those go. This tulip here looks totally out of place, and I think I'm going to definitely pull these up. But this is Carnival, I think, and it's a red and white tulip. It doesn't really go in here, but on the picture, it looked like it was purple and white. So I thought, oh, that's perfect. It'll go so well in here. But weirdly, I think that because it's red and white, from a distance, it does sort of look pink. Kind of funny that way, but I think we are going to move that, even though it's really pretty. And when they repeat, when they come back, you don't really want to fight that. Over here, the Brunner and the Bleeding Hearts are just looking so gorgeous together. And behind that, there's a stunning backdrop of Lily of the Valley. One of you recommended putting Lily of the Valley in the shade border in the dining garden, and thank you so much for that recommendation. We actually have tons of Lily of the Valley. This has been here since we moved in, and it is so happy here. It's one of those that's considered a bit of a thug in the garden, and that it performs like that here for sure. It does sort of take over, but I think it's so charming, and those flowers are just one of the most romantic, magical looking flowers. They're just so tiny, and they just look like, little fairy bells. Very, very pretty. Our forsythia is finally going over. That lasted for so long this year, and I do like that yellow in early spring, but we're probably going to move all of these, and I'm excited for something new here. We have Lady's Mantle, Alchemilla mollis here, and that should put on its really zingy green flowers pretty soon. We'll flower shoots, and this is our spring container. It's doing super well. The Jacob's ladder has started to go over, and the epimediums are kind of buried in there, the little bishop's hat flowers. But it looks really happy. Everything's doing really well and putting on new growth, so that's a really good sign. And yeah, I think it's a really whimsical container. That smells really nice. That Artemisia, silver bullet Artemisia. Here's our little arbor, and it's wiggly girl. But our clematis on there is budding up, and I'm really excited to see that. There's violets underneath, and this hydrangea is coming back beautifully, so I'm really excited to see that bloom. It's just like meeting old friends, you know? We have some blue columbine in this area, pink columbine over there, hostas. Yeah, let's see. Is there anything else to show you? There's some forget-me-nots back here, and some, oh, I thought I saw the heron. There's a heron that was flying over. We transplanted a viburnum back there and some more lily of the valley and things like that. But actually, do come back here. I'll show you this real quick. Back here, we're still playing around with the shape, but we have these little jelly bean cutouts. I think we're just going to kind of extend them over to the fence, like our deer fence. And then I think we're going to plant some shrubs in them. But for now, we just have everything that was planted a couple of years ago, all the bulbs, and they've come back surprisingly well. The scarlet babies that I showed you earlier were so beautiful, so we're waiting for that foliage to die back. And then this orange one, I don't even remember this coming up last year. I remember having a yellow one that had kind of a red around it. Do you remember that, the red margin around that? But I don't remember this orange one. It's really pretty, especially up against that purple. Orange and purple is such a beautiful combination. We have another parrot tulip that looks like it's coming back. Again, those do so well at coming back for us. This is the area that we're going to turn into our dining garden. We have a few orange tulips over there. That blend was Queen of the Night and the orange tulip, and Queen of the Night doesn't come back for us at all. We haven't had any luck with that one, even though it's such a stunning, stunning tulip. It's just seems like a perfect tulip for like a witch's garden or something like that, which I think would be very, very fun to just maybe have a cauldron with white flowers kind of cascading out of it and just doing all kinds of black flowers. I think that would be a really fun kind of kitschy garden to do, but I would have a good time doing something like that. These forget-me-nots here, I think I'm going to transplant these up into our porch bed because they're just gorgeous. And then these parrot tulips, oh my gosh, these are the apricot parrots, and they are so pretty, that combination. You know, they kind of, the color combination on these kind of is reminiscent, or reminds me a little bit of the Rasta tulips, which are so stunning. I really want to have some of those tulips somewhere in the garden, find a really nice place for those, just because I could look at them forever. The Rasta tulips and the Princess Irene tulips, those are two tulips that I've just never been able to find and that I've wanted for a really long time. But these are just gorgeous. I love that. They just look like birds. Some of these parrot, you know, that's the parrot tulips, right? Like they just look like tropical, exotic birds. Have to transplant that geranium. Tons of Nepeta coming through. These irises, I'm excited to see those bloom. I think I'm just gonna maybe sit out here and enjoy the evening, what's left of it. We have stuff in our cold frame that's doing well, and the lilacs are doing really well, but yeah, I'm really grateful that you came and spent some time with me in the garden today. These are just really fun for me to film because I love watching them back in the winter and just reminding myself that the winter does end, the spring does come, and this time of year is so precious. It's so ephemeral, and all of these plants, you know, they remind us of how important it is to just appreciate every day, because some of them only last a day. So you kind of have to really be in the present moment to enjoy everything. So take some time and just sit in your garden. Don't do any work, just sit out there and really take it all in. The sights, the sounds, the smells. the insects. And I'll see you again very soon, I hope. Okay? Take really good care. Bye. See, I can't even stop. Couldn't even stop. Couldn't even. Let's just sit. It's so pretty.